Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Now, some of y'all are wondering, where's your Tennessee stuff? Don't you usually do this with Tennessee hat, Tennessee shirt? I do, but tonight's a special night. I'm bringing out something new. Corkboard, baby. So, I'm gonna start doing something different. If it works, then I'll keep doing it, but if it don't, then I'll stop doing it. Tonight, I'm going to do my top 25. Top 25, yes sir. So, I'm going to go right into it. But first, let me explain this. So, over here, you have 25 to 11. And then you'll have 10 through 7. And then I'll post my top 6 as I talk. Does that make sense? Perfect. All right. So, starting from the bottom, now we're here. Just kidding. Starting from the bottom, 25, I've got Oklahoma State. Now, they have a big game this weekend against their big rival, Oklahoma, who's coming off a loss, by the way, to Kansas. But Oklahoma State, to me, looks pretty good. They're trying to find their rhythm and get to the top 25. I don't remember if they're ranked through ESPN, but if they are, they're probably at that same spot. I think they are, though. And then we've got Kansas State. You know what? I'm not really going to explain these guys because it's going to take a while. So I've got Kansas State at 24, Kansas at 23, obviously because they just beat the number 6 team in the nation. Anywho, 22, I've got USC because they just can't figure it out. They're up and down. They're really, really crazy. And then I've got Tulane at 21. Tulane's look good. Not the best, but they've looked good. And then I've got Utah, who's coming off a huge loss to Oregon, 35-6, and there was a big hype in that game. The college game day was there. All the fans were nuts. Nobody believed that Utah was going to get blown out like that, but they did. Oregon took them to school. But then I've got UCLA, who just beat Colorado. Anywho, undefeated Air Force. I have them at what? 2019, 18? I have them at 18. That's pretty high for Air Force. If I remember correctly, I think the ESPN polls have them at 25. No respect for the Falcons of Air Force. 17, I have Oregon State. They were probably pretty high on most polls, but they just got shellacked by Arizona. 3-point loss, not shellacking, but in my book, when you're Oregon State losing to Arizona, it's a shellacking. I don't care what you say. But then I've got Tennessee. Boy, it hurts my heart that they're this low. 2 losses on the season. One of those makes sense. It was Alabama in Tuscaloosa. But at the same time, that really doesn't make sense because there were a lot of penalties that were called on Tennessee and not very many that were called on Alabama. That made no sense. But anywho, I'm not here to whine. I'm not here to complain. I have Tennessee at 17. That other loss that I was talking about to a terrible Florida team. We'll get on to Florida later. And then I've got LSU because they look good. They play well. Can't really complain about them. Missouri has been looking good all season. They got a big win against Kansas State. Big win. Notre Dame, they've been up and down. At one point, I never made this video, but at one point I had them down here. At one point they were down here. But then I've got Louisville. Obviously, they're above Notre Dame because they got the win over the Irish. And then I've got Oklahoma at 11. They would be higher. If it wasn't for that loss to Kansas. They were 6th. They might have been in the top 5, maybe even 4th, if they didn't lose to Kansas. They almost got there in my polls, which isn't saying much because my polls don't really matter at all. It's just me saying, hey, this game was good. I'm just an armchair coach. I don't know anything. I really don't. But I do know who my top 6 are. But you don't know that yet because I still got 10 through 7 left. I've got Ole Miss down here at 10. Alabama. Alabama. At 9. I think they're 8th in the playoff poll, I believe. I do know that they have Penn State under Oklahoma or Alabama. Pretty sure these 4 here, are pretty much the same as the actual polls, just Penn State and Alabama are flip-flopped. I feel like Alabama's loss, they've got 1 loss, to Texas, is a worse loss than Penn State's loss to Ohio State. When Alabama played Texas, it was a 3 versus 5, I think. And it wasn't that close, and Alabama looked like garbage. So, Penn State getting beat by Ohio State by 8 is a better loss than Alabama getting upset by Texas. In Tuscaloosa at that. Penn State had to play Ohio State in the horseshoe. So, many different factors playing, in my opinion, on why Alabama's Texas loss is worse than Penn State's Ohio State loss. Speaking of Texas, look at that. There they are. I have them at number 7. Because they lost to a good Oklahoma team. That game was a good game. I think the better team got beat, because I honestly believe Texas looks way better than Oklahoma. But that's enough of that. Let's move on to the top 6. You ready for this? Let's do it. At number 6. Wait. Before I go into 6 and 5, I'm going to do number 1. Ready for this? Ha. I don't think you're ready for this. Here we go. Number 1, I got Clemson. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Get them out of here. They 4-4. Are you kidding me? Clemson, you're 4-4? God. Did Tennessee break you last year? Because you opened up the season this year to a loss to my actual number 1 team, Duke. Dukies, number 1. Dukies, number 1. No, I'm just kidding. Get them out of here, too. They're trash. They just got shut out by Louisville. 23-0. 23-0. Nothing. They didn't get a single point. Not of a field goal. Nothing. But, you know what? There's still hope. Number 1 could be Colorado? Maybe? No. Get them out of here. They have become severe clickbait in the NCAA. Nobody's a fan of Colorado except for all-time Colorado fans. So if you're from Colorado, you grew up with the Buffaloes, you're a Colorado fan, you've been diehard all your life, you've been through the lows, you've been through the highs. But there's a new kind of fan that are saying, yeah, go Colorado, go Buffaloes. It's not Colorado fans. It's these youngins who see Deion Sanders and they're like, ooh, I'm a Colorado fan. Why are you a Colorado fan? Because of Deion Sanders, Coach Prime Time. Stop. Get out of here. Colorado has become clickbait, and it kills me. But you know who's not clickbait? The number 1 team on my polls. The Florida Gators. Really? You think I'm going to say Florida's number 1? Pfft, bull crap. They look like trash. But they beat Tennessee. Yes, they did. Did they look good? No. Did Tennessee look good? Absolutely not. They caught us pretty much on a bad day. Now, am I saying Tennessee's a good team? Defensively, they're pretty decent. Offensively, they've got some... they got to fix some stuff. Starting with Milton at quarterback being more accurate, more consistent. God, that screen was bright. But are they better than the Florida Gators? Absolutely. Absolutely they are. Florida caught Tennessee on a bad day at home. Tennessee was playing in the swamp on a bad day. And I don't care who you are. You're a longtime Tennessee fan. You've been through the crap of the coaching carousel that we went through for the last 20 years. You're a Florida Gator fan. You know, if you're Tennessee and you're going to beat Florida, you cannot make mistakes. There were quite a few mistakes in that game, and for it to be in the swamp, that's going to cost us. We haven't beat Florida in the swamp in 15 years. It pains me to say that, but I do believe Tennessee is way better than Florida. Tennessee is bowl eligible already. 6-2. Florida's not bowl eligible yet. They are 5-3. See where I'm going with this? See where I'm going with this? All right. No more playing around. So instead of going 1 to 6, I'm just gonna start from the bottom. I gotta make sure I got this right. You know what? If I don't have it right, I know my top 4. I don't remember my bottom. Oh, yes I do. I do. Okay. We're getting there. We are cooking with grease, baby. Cooking with grease. All right, so at number 6, I have one of my favorite teams. They have been for a long time. Oh my goodness. Hold on, let me get this like I said, this is new. Maybe by the time I have more space or whatever, I'll be able to do this better. At number 6, I've got the Quack Attack. I have the mighty Oregon Ducks. Check this out. You see these guys? They don't get their logos yet because they're not in the top 6. The top 6 get logos. It pays to be a winner, y'all. Anywho, Oregon, I have them at number 6. I have them at 6 because they are phenomenal. Did they get beat once? Yes. Was it to a bad team? Absolutely not. They got beat by an inferior Washington team. The Oregon loss to Washington reminds me a lot of the Texas loss to Oklahoma. The better team got beat. Whether it be by their own doing or they just got outcoached or what have you, the better team in the Oregon-Washington team got beat, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that because I've been an Oregon fan for a while. I'm not saying that because they're one of my favorite teams. No, I'm saying that out of the pure unbiasedness part of my heart. Oregon is a better team than Washington. Watching Oregon play against Utah told me that. 35-6 against a Utah team who is phenomenal. They're not the best team, obviously, but they are a good team, and Oregon destroyed them, drug them up and down the field for 4 quarters. Washington and Oregon had a close game, came down to 3 points. 3 points. It's the same thing as the Texas-Oklahoma game. It's a 3-point difference. Actually, I think it was a 6-point difference because they played in overtime for Oklahoma to beat Texas. I think that's what it was. I don't remember that. It's been a while. But I do know that the better Texas team and the better Oregon team got beat by an inferior Oklahoma and an inferior Washington. Speaking of Washington, I do have them in my top 6 because I have them at number 5. Why do I have them at number 5? You might ask. You know, I'm happy you asked. Because Washington has the win over Oregon. Yes, they do. So I can't put Oregon above Washington. It just don't make sense. Look at this. Ow! Well, your angle it says ow. Mine it says whoa. Anywho. Sorry. Like I said, this is new, so I'm having fun with it. So I've got Washington at number 5 because of that win over Oregon. If it was the other way around, obviously I'd have Oregon above Washington. Washington's still undefeated at 7-0. Oregon has that 1 loss. No big deal. It just kind of makes sense. Now the top 4. This is going to blow people's minds. Y'all ready for this? I don't think you're ready. At number 4, I have a team that nobody probably thinks should be at number 4. I think they all think they should be number 1. I have the Georgia Bulldogs. Yes, I have Georgia at number 4. Let me tell you why. I don't think they've looked good all season. They've beaten teams. They're undefeated. They've won everything that they've played, but they beat Auburn by 7. They beat South Carolina by 10. They beat Vanderbilt by 17. They've got a lot of turnovers. Yes, Carson Beck looks phenomenal. Brock Bowers, even though he's hurt, has looked phenomenal. He's out now, Brock Bowers is, but he's probably one of the best tight ends that I've seen play college football in a long time. Georgia has some weapons on offense. They do. Defense, pretty stout. But those turnovers is what's killing them. The point differentials against inferior teams, I almost said smaller teams, against inferior teams like Auburn, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, it hurts their stock with me. Because if you're number one team, if you are back-to-back national champions, and you're ranked number one all season long, you should be dominating every single aspect of the game. Turnover game doesn't even exist because you don't turn the ball over. Points, you don't win games by a touchdown. You win them by 12 touchdowns. Maybe not 12 touchdowns. That's kind of an exaggeration. That's a lot of points. You win by 4 touchdowns at the least. You beat Auburn by 3 touchdowns. You beat South Carolina by 40. Not touchdowns, 40 points. You beat Vanderbilt by 60. None of those teams should be even close to Georgia if they are back-to-back national champions and number one in the nation. That's just my opinion. Maybe that's because I'm a Tennessee fan. Say what you want, but I don't think Georgia deserves to be number one because they looked like garbage all season. What's up, dude? But yeah, at number 4, I've got Georgia. Now, I need to get 2 more of these things because I did not count right. So at number 3, hold on, I'm having issues. At number 3, I have ACC team. I've got Florida State. Now, you may ask why I have Florida State. They've looked good all season. They've had their ups and downs, not as many as Georgia. They've been riding the wave. They've looked good though, good enough in my eyes to stay undefeated and to be number 3. Like I said, they've had their ups and downs. All the teams in the nation have. It's how they've rebounded from those. They just beat Wake Forest. I know it's Wake Forest. 41-16. I don't even think they played to their full potential in that game. I don't. They also beat Duke, who was riding really high. They didn't just beat them. They beat them, 38-20? They beat a good Duke team. Duke's pretty good. But they beat a good Duke team by 18. They were back and forth that game all game long. Duke was up 20-17 at one point, and then all of a sudden Florida State pulls away. So Florida State in my book is number 3. Now you're asking, if Florida State's number 3 and Georgia's number 4, who the heck do you have at number 2? What's funny you ask? It's actually the team that people put at number 1. Why, I'll never know. But I've got... I need a better system to do this. I've got Ohio State. Now you ask, why did I put number 2 above number 3? Because it's the playoffs, crazy. Number 2 and number 3 play each other in the playoffs. Duh. But anywho, just had to take a moment to be silly for a second. I've got Ohio State at number 2. I don't agree with them being number 1 due to a Penn State victory. I think Ohio State has some great weapons on their team. Marvin Harrison Jr., great receiver. I haven't watched much of their games, but I do know this. They just beat... Who did they play? I don't remember who they played. But whoever it was, they just won 24-10. Against one of the teams that they should have probably blown out, but they didn't. Was it Maryland? It wasn't Maryland. Indiana? No, Penn State beat Indiana. I don't remember who Ohio State played. But it was one of them Big Ten teams that they should have just wrecked for 4 quarters, but they didn't. 24-10 was that final score. I'm pretty sure it was Maryland. Again, I could be wrong, but it is what it is. But then there comes numero uno. One is the loneliest number. I'm so lonely. It takes a lot to be number one, and I believe this team has done quite a bit. They've done quite a bit. And that team is none other than the Michigan Wolverines. I'm no means a Michigan fan. I am no means a Big Ten fan. But these two teams, Ohio State and Michigan, have probably played the cleanest. They've probably played the best. Ohio State probably has a couple close wins that shouldn't be close, but they have them. Michigan, however, dominates from kickoff to final whistle. They don't have any close victories. Now, you may say, but they don't play nobody. They play cupcakes. They just look at their schedule. They don't play anybody. That may be true. But when you play terrible teams, what are you expected to do? Win close? Yeah, bull crap. No. When you play terrible teams, you are expected to blow them out week in, week out. Every single game you play, if it's all cupcakes, you should be beating all cupcakes by all of 40 points, which is what they've been doing. Michigan has looked like a complete team, to me, better than all of these teams. That's including Georgia. I feel like if Georgia and Michigan played today, which they won't because obviously they're two different conferences, they won't play until the playoffs. If they were to play today, Michigan would drag Georgia for a long time. Maybe not all 4 quarters, but they will pull it out in the end. Maybe close victory, but I think they win by 10. I think Michigan would beat Georgia today by 10. Now, it's still kind of early in the season. We just seen the first playoff poll. And I'm pretty sure the playoff poll has Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State. It's crazy. We have the same 4 teams in the top 4, but my top 4 are kind of flip-flopped. Because I think Michigan deserves to be number 1 because of how they've looked, how they've played, how complete they have been playing. Ohio State hasn't been complete the entire time. They are finding their rhythm. They're undefeated, yes, but they are finding their rhythm. Florida State plays more complete than Georgia does. Not as complete as Ohio State. Not even close to how complete Michigan plays. Georgia has way too many turnovers. They fumble the ball a lot more. Granted, they recover most of those, but they drop the ball. Their ball control is kind of uncontrollable, for lack of better terms. Washington may be undefeated, but they haven't looked that great. In fact, they just 2 weeks ago, I think it was, they beat Arizona 15-7. That's not top 4 material for me. If you're going to beat Arizona, you got to beat them by a lot more than just 8. Sorry, Huskies, you're just not there. And in Oregon, I can't put them above Washington right now just because they did get beat by the Huskies by 3. Now, if Washington had beat them by 12 or more, then yeah, there would be no question why Oregon's under Washington. No questions. But it's only a 3-point victory for Washington over the Ducks. But Oregon still looks like the best team in the nation, sort of. So, obviously, they get their logo on the board. They get their logo because they're not 7 or below. Now, do I wish Tennessee was in the top 4? Absolutely. I remember last season, I think we deceived everybody. Yeah, we're number 1. And then go lay an egg in Athens against the Dogs. We got them this year in Knoxville. And I'm just going to say this right now. If we don't clean up our offense, we are going to get drugged for 4 quarters. Georgia may not look that good, but they look good enough to stop our passing game. We can't just win on running. We can't. Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, I don't remember his first name. Sampson. We can't win just with those 3 people. Now, Joe Milton's finding his legs. He's starting to run, and he's really good at running. Throwing, he's found a rhythm, but he's inconsistent. We love that he can throw the ball 90 yards. We love it. But if your receiver can't get to that 90 yards by the time the ball is hitting the ground, we don't love it. Cool, we have a quarterback who can throw a bomb. But the receivers are not fast enough all the time to catch those bombs. When he overthrows his receiver by 15 yards, now it's gotten better since last year. Last year he was overthrowing him by 15 yards. That's why he was benched. Sorry, not last year, the year before. That's why he was benched, because he was overthrowing his receivers by 25. Last year when he came in for Hendon Hooker, he was probably overthrown by 15. Now, he's throwing darts, but he also has those overthrows. He overthrows his receivers by maybe 5 to 10 yards. It's not too bad. He's getting there. But it's his last year of college, so he needs to clean that up now. Not next year, not the year after that, now. Because he's not looking like a top draft pick. If that's what he wants, he's going to have to get better. But that's my top 25. If you disagree, that's fine. If you agree, cool. But let me know down in the comments if you like this. If you like this system. I kind of like it because it adds a little more aspect to my YouTube. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get better. Don't judge me. Don't judge. It's not your right. It's not your place to judge moi. I can judge myself. The good Lord above can judge myself, but you cannot. But I do take criticism, and I do take constructive criticism. So don't just bash me just to bash me. Give me pointers. Help me out here. I'm trying to get better at this. But that's my top 25. That's my top 6. Obviously, I've got Michigan. I've got Ohio. I'm going the wrong way. I got Michigan. I got Ohio State. I got Florida State. And I got Georgia in the playoffs right now. I've got Washington and Oregon, first 2 out. Obviously, for reasons. I'm looking forward to when they start doing this 12-team playoff, because I'm going to have 12 logos. I'm going to have 12 logos on the board. Hopefully, I get a bigger board, because that's... Whew, holy moly. I don't know, it might work. I don't know. It might work. We'll figure it out. But welcome to my channel, where I have new aspects coming in. I'm brainstorming, trying to get better. So, if you liked it, thumbs up it. Cool. If you really liked it, subscribe. I'm all about subscribers. I don't have many, but I'm trying to build them. Let me know in the comments if you like this aspect. Let me know down in the comments what I can do better. Help me out. Don't be haters. Help me out.